Hello and good morning. So, I was recently asked to show off some nifty little tricks that you can do in 3rd Gen AC. Uh, yeah, figured I'd go ahead and do so. So, first of all, the very first one that came up is actually one that was very useful during the starter AC run here. It's one that quite a few people are familiar with, especially on the speedrunning side of things. But this would be the feathering trick. So here's the long and short of it. You essentially going to go ahead and wait here since this is the starter AC. But you get your energy back, you turn on your OB, and essentially you just kind of tap on the boost button to get all the way across. For comparison, here's what would have happened if I just OB'd normally. As you can see, already just like completely in the red, and running into problems by the time we get to the other side here. If I go ahead and speed this up a little bit, and then I go ahead and feather, and get to the other side much easier. Now that one right there was done pretty poorly. You can actually get more optimal timing out of this. Essentially, just jumping up and launching yourself at that point. Obviously, timing is going to be a little bit of a hard thing to nail down for this one, just due to kind of the number of steps involved. But if you can essentially get it to where it's kind of reaching that acceleration phase while you're currently jumping in the air, you can sometimes get yourself going at a bit of an upward arc, kind of like this. So that's it's a little bit closer. There's sometimes you can get it going straight up. Again, it takes a little bit of practice, but either way, it's something that you see used in speedruns all the time. But this is a good way to make a crappy generator last a good while longer. So that's the first one on there. Now the second one is one that's I don't know if it's actually got an official name, but it's one that I refer to as it's kind of the infinite hover trick. So basically any hover legs will do. These ones are a bit more noticeable. I may notice the sound is going a little bit jank in the background. That's just, I don't know. That's something OBS has been doing lately. Just, it happens. Hopefully it doesn't become too obvious. So what you do is essentially you time out your button presses like so. I'll put my thing up here so hopefully you can hear it on the mic. But you do about roughly 6/10 of a second. What you're doing here is essentially taking the initial kind of ignition boost from the legs and just repeatedly triggering it over and over and over to functionally let yourself boost forever. Now, this sort of works going upwards as well. You can repeatedly use this going upwards. Typically, it's better to go ahead and do that with something like the energy extensions on. As you can see here, I can't get nearly that kind of height just tapping it normally. But if I go down here, can essentially fly all the way up in starter AC with a starting generator and no optional stuff. So either way, it's a lot more efficient movement, mostly useful for speed runs, but either way, it's there. Something that should be noted is that these effects were very, very, very sharply diminished once we get to Silent Line. You can actually still do the infinite ground hover, but the verticality isn't nearly as good as it was before. So like this whole tapping for ignition thing, it really only works when you're going and flying up vertically in both cases, but if you're going and using it in Silent Line, it isn't nearly as good as it is in 3. And then once you get to Last Raven, it's a completely different story where you can still technically kind of do it, but the amount of heat that it generates would simply roast your butthole out, and that's about it. So, next up is the infinite hover trick, or, well, the other infinite hover trick. So for this one, you basically just need really, really, really low energy drain, so we're going to go ahead and set that up. Now, alright, so let's go ahead and get this set up here. So what we're going to need is the hexes and the, where is it here, the RAWs generator. Now, everything else is kind of up to your discretion, honestly. That's the main part here. Typically, you want to use something like the machine gun arms, just because you'll end up sorting out a lot of your problems a lot better. Here we go. Let's go ahead and pop the machine gun arms on there. Where are them suckers? There we go. You go back in there, get a booster of some description. It's better to do this using the energy extension and a low energy cost booster. So that's what we're going to do. Now we're just going to go to any old arena fight. Let's say Who won't completely wreck this thing? Ducks? Yeah, why not? Now, basically, the way that the hexes work in this one is whatever axis you land on, that's what it will trigger as your new kind of floor plane, as it were. So, like right here, energy cost of this is low enough to the point where it can recover while essentially using these extensions. Normally, you would just hop around like an idiot. So while doing this, can do this instead. So you really just need a bunch of really low energy drain parts. Weight doesn't matter nearly as much as the fact that they have low drain. So you can make a few reasonably okay builds using this. Unfortunately, EC3 PvP isn't as much of a thing as Silent Line, but, unfortunately, they did fix this in Silent Line. So I was asked repeatedly what the difference was between all these tricks. So yeah, this was patched in Silent Line and very, very patched by the time we get to Last Raven. So we got all that. What else here? Other neat little tricks that you may not have known. Actually, if we go to the missions here, I believe it's in the nature area. Where is it? Da, 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 da. Is it over here? Yes, it is. Okay. So, for those that didn't know, you can actually do a little bit of a trick with the empty training exercise here. I'm just going to go ahead and have these on the whole time, because why the hell not? But anyway, so if you didn't know, as long as you dodge the rest of the missiles coming your way, you can actually get these MTs. Basically, this applies anywhere in the game, but it's only really useful here. But you can get these MTs to take themselves out. Basically, their missiles will always just go directly towards you. So yeah, there's that. Oh, also, by the way, if you weren't aware, if you want to do the feathering trick, these will automatically feather for you, if that's your sort of thing. But now, these guys will spread out a little bit. You can usually get them down to about 3 before you start taking this thing seriously. Honestly, it's really just one of those more you want to do it because you want to do it kind of things. It's just funny to me that, yeah, if you have them take each other out, then it doesn't count as you attacking them, so you can still S-rank it using this method. It's not, again, like I said, it's more just kind of neat than it is super useful, but it's funny when you can get them to line up just right. So there we go. Just one of those more amusing tricks, as it were. Funny thing is, by the way, I don't have any to show it here, but if you actually shoot a decoy, it does still count as a projectile that you started off, meaning that they will still count it against you as having attacked them if one of your decoys touches them. So that's something else if you're thinking to just drop a decoy right next to it. If they run into it, yes, that still counts as you attacked them because your decoy was coming right at them. How could they? How could you do that to them? So yeah, there's that. Now, got another 10 seconds left. Usually, by the time you get to these last two, it's pretty unlikely you're going to be able to have them take each other out, but it's just there, I suppose. Just going to go ahead and hang out on top of this guy. Exercise went well. We lost 3/5 of our guys, but, they were clearly idiots that just shot each other. Fair game, fair game. So yeah, if you go to the details here, yeah, you can see that there's no deduction for any missing MTs. Let's see, other cool trivia. Something cool that Cal figured out a while ago is the single most profitable mission in the entire game, and I think in 3rd gen. He said, where was it here? There's one here where you go in to get the computer. Let's see if I can find it here. There we are. So if you go to destroy computer here at the assembly plant, essentially if you go in and destroy all of the random stuff in the plant and just completely wipe the place out with energy weapons and that sort of thing, I think he said you can get like 300,000 credits or whatever for this one. But it's the one that you basically end up getting more money the more you destroy. All right, what else here? Okay, there's another cool one right here, in which if you never knew about this one, you can't really pick a different consort, unfortunately. But a lot of people I've noticed don't seem to be aware of the fact that you can actually just, well, take on this early little part of the mission instead of the later one with him. So if you just let him run ahead, he'll go ahead and take this one. But this isn't the actual trick I want to show for this one. In fact, if you're having trouble dealing with all these MTs, you can just go and hide in this friggin' hallway. If you go down here, just typically it's better on an emulator. Now, you're not S ranking it anytime soon, but eventually they will just run in front of this little gap. So you just like run back and forth, and they will eventually just come down here. Let's see if we can. Okay, that looks hilarious. I thought it might leave me stuck in the ceiling there. Yeah, there we go. This works out pretty well. So yeah, if you just run down here, they will eventually just aggro and come down this hallway. It essentially allows you to run out of the way of their shots a fair bit more. A little useful trick when the AI decides to cooperate. But typically, if you're ever having issues with getting to Clayson with a reasonable amount of AP, this would be the way to do it. So, yeah. They will usually do a hard landing right in front of the door, so you can just take them out, and, yeah, less problems to deal with. Alright, next little trick. Alright, so this next one's a little bit of a two-parter, because, yeah, essentially the infinite hover trick is something that ends up helping out a fair bit here. So, if you go right up to the very top here, essentially turn on your infinite hover right among the border, you can actually just use this trick to more or less just cheese out the entire mission. Because, yeah, as long as you're completely out of aggro range here, you can, well, more or less sit here forever. Let them fight it out down below. It sounds like a whole lot of their problem, not a whole lot of yours. So you can just sit here, wait out those full 5 minutes. Probably just going to go ahead and speed this part up just to show you what I mean. Okay, so I screwed it up, but this is hilarious. Apparently, if you die while doing this trick, you just hover in the air forever. This is great. But yeah, no. So while I did it poorly, I did get past the 5-minute timer. Basically, you just if you wanted to actually do that with a weapon that can actually hit something, you can get through that one no problem. Is the point I was trying to get at. Next up, cool thing that was discovered by Mr. AO a while ago. There's little side shields. Speaking of extensions, I may have noticed and loved and used the hell out of. Well, I guess I don't have them on this guy now, do I? Where are my side shields? Oh wait, that's right, they're in sound line. 1 second. Hello, and welcome to Soundline now. So, side shields, right? So this is a cool one that was discovered by AO a little while ago. Namely, you know, these things, they're pretty great. You got these side shields right here. They're pretty nifty lag. Well, guess what? Turns out all three of them actually reduce your stability if you end up equipping them. That doesn't apply to shields, like the forward-facing arm shields, but for some reason the side shields actually reduce your stability pretty significantly. They didn't in all later iterations, but just in Silent Line, it seems to be one of those random programming errors. It's one of those things where, you know, who even knows what happened really. I mean, they had a bunch of the stats just straight up backwards in the original PS2 versions, so this is probably just another one of those cases where they were meant to add to stability, but instead they end up removing it. So yeah, what it probably is, they probably have a stability a stat assigned to them, which probably then goes and overwrites whatever stat that you had. So either way, so that's there. As you can see in the stats here, removing them doesn't show a difference in stability, which is what makes that all the more weird. But yeah, you may notice that you end up being able to withstand a lot more hits as soon as they're blown off. So you're really just trading stability for extra defense, which, you know, is honestly just fine in and of itself. But alright, so other neat tricks. Let's see. Alright, I guess it's not technically a trick, but a neat thing that only applies in Silent Line is a weird thing of how part breaks work. So if you're unfamiliar with the mechanic, Silent Line essentially allows all kind of outside parts to be blown off to some degree. So extensions and arm weapons. I don't believe any back weapons can be blown off, but I could be wrong on that. But either way, thing is, you'd think it would be the number of shots, the number of damage, whatever else, but apparently it's the projectile type that decides how much damage something does to a part. So like machine guns will do next to nothing, flamethrowers do a pretty okay amount, pistols won't do very much, however, rifles and sniper rifles will break parts like absolutely no one's business. It's typically, I believe, around 4 or 5 shots from pretty much any sniper rifle whatsoever to blow through just about any shield. Rifles are slightly higher than that, I believe like 6 or 7 or so. But either way, they will absolutely chew through any extension shields that anybody has equipped. So there's that. Also, one thing that often goes underappreciated is these napalm rockets. Now you might be thinking, hey, they're rockets, they suck. Here's the thing. No, they don't. Because, yeah, you may be wondering, hey, they weigh so much, what's the deal with that? Look at that ammo count. You have 100 shots of guaranteed overheat as soon as they hit. You've got a ton of potential burnage in this thing. Like if you equip one of these little back dealies right here, that is 120 shots of pure molten robot goodness right there. It's pretty amazing. They do really, really well. So yeah, personally, I absolutely love this combo. Even if you're not very good with rockets, quite frankly, the secret is just aim in the general direction of something. Make something run into your rockets rather than trying to aim with them. But yeah, so far I've done 3. I've done SL. I've done the Javelin AI arenas. You know, call it mastery if you will. I just think it's just a matter of running other stuff into your rockets. But any dang ways, so there's that. The combo of these two is pretty darn devastating. Actually, a neat thing about hand rockets, this is the early third gen, so 3 and SL is the only time that these things actually fire both barrels at the same time. Later on, they were just given a two-shot magazine capacity. But yeah, this is the only one where they fire both at once, and it is ridiculously strong. So there's that. All right, moving on to the next thing. All right, next neat little thing here. I guess it's not so much of a trick, but this one is just the fact that this EOC core never comes back. The overall design of it kind of does, but the fact that it is essentially a linear gun EO never ever comes up again. It's just gone after this for whatever reason. They slapped off the EOs, just made it I believe they made it a hanger core in later games. But yeah, no, it's pretty darn strong. However, you may notice one thing. This is the only one where they decided that the EO ones have absolutely no slots to them. It's like that one has 8. That's decent. If we go up here to the standard shot one, the axe, it's all the way down to 6. It only has 6 expansion slots. So yeah, stuff gets pretty darn harsh for those things. Yeah, and I think the axe is probably the biggest nerfed chest piece, as it were. All right, next thing. All right, so this is something that really wouldn't affect that many builds, but it's just something I personally found really funny. The VREX WS1, aka that one short-range one that a lot of people like. Yeah, it's actually the lightest and lowest energy drain. For whatever reason, it is lighter and drains less than even the starter one. No idea what's going on with that, but there you go. Alright, this is a question that I've personally received several times, which is the fact that, okay, I've done a lot of stuff with rockets in the series and everything else. Been asked a few times if there's any possible logical reason to use gen jammers. Short answer, no. Absolutely none. Three, two, one. Okay, so on the subject of rockets, actually, this is one that I've gotten a few times personally, since I guess I'm kind of the rocket guy. But long story short, I've been asked if there's any practical use for the generator jammers, and yeah, let's be frank here. No, no, there isn't. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this is one that I've personally gotten several times, namely the question of, hey, Silent Line has generator jammers. Are those ever any good at all? And here's the funny thing: these actually used to be banned in a lot of tournaments. I'm assuming because more so of what they are implied to do, more so than what they actually do. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take the different types of rockets you can pop on the inside. You've got your basic ones, basic damage. That's pretty alright, just extra ammo, really. You've got your napalms, which essentially will overheat and shut down something's energy production. You've got your ECM jammers, which will completely remove their lockbox. And you've got the generator jammers, which, in theory, should shut down their generator. Now, I think right here is going to be a pretty okay example of one of their better uses. So this is going to be a combination of generator jammers and napalms on Silver Fox here. So he gets a few shots off. Essentially, as you can see here, he's getting quite a bit shut down. Unfortunately, due to the fact that this is Silent Line, I can't actually see what his actual stats are at the moment. One thing that's actually interesting to note is the fact that in 3, you can actually see the stats of an opponent when you fire rockets at them. But in Silent Line and in all later installments, this was actually removed. It's unclear why, because personally I really love that feature. But okay, so even with an ammo extender, we're already out of rockets here. As you can see here, they were able to, in conjunction with napalm, shut him down relatively effectively, but it still took a lot of shots to be able to do so. So we're going to go ahead and finish him off here. Now, personally, I absolutely love rockets. I think that they're really underappreciated just because they're really fun to use, because, you get napalms, you screw up somebody's energy production. You get hand rockets for a crap ton of damage. You got all your spreads and your rapid fires for area coverage and that kind of thing. Typically, I just use smalls, hands, and napalms with some decoys, but I've been really loving the trick rockets lately. Now, why am I showing this? Well, it's mostly for the purpose of showing off, well, essentially how much effect they actually have. So all in all, generator jammers have, well, they have 6 seconds. They have 6 seconds of actual jamming that they do. So yeah, not very effective. You'd think that, it would be a really long time, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like, it's taking a hot minute. So let's watch. The reason I picked Silver Fox is because he doesn't use any OPI, so he's not, like, regenerating out of it or anything, which, by the way, if something uses OPI, generator jammers will actually not affect them. So it does absolutely nothing. So as you can see here,